This movie is, I think, awesome for a long while, and then it starts kind of like throwing up, and not like projectile vomiting all over itself, like Baby Yoda in the Razor Crest in Mandalorian, where it just kind of like dribbles out. You're like, man, you're just doing too much, Bullet Train. This is a little too much going on right now. We're going to start out with Bullet Train. Bullet Train from David Leitch, who has done movies that people know. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. Deadpool 2.
Movie.
Deadpool 2, Atomic Blonde. All buttered on Lights, Camera, Barstool. Atomic Blonde had some great fucking fight scenes in it.
That stairway fight was
Did you put a bucket hat on?
No.
Gucci put
I was wearing this
hat.
when I came in.
You fucking idiot. I hate that. I hate that so much.
That's like the exact same.
Did you own that?
That's
Did
incredible.
you buy that after Bullet Train?
No, I've always had this.
That would have been a great AMC, like, what do you call it, tie-in thing? Like, instead of a bucket of popcorn, you get a bucket hat to put the popcorn in.
They had them. They had them at Regal with Bullet Train on the embroidered, like,
Really?
on the bucket. And I was like, can I buy that? And they're like, no, sorry. I was like, please, can I buy it?
Jesus.
Oh my God. Bullet Train. Unlucky assassin Ladybug, played by Brad Pitt, is determined to do his job peacefully after one too many gigs gone off the rail. Fate, however, may have other plans as Ladybug's latest mission puts him on a collision course with lethal adversaries from around the globe, all with connected yet conflicting objectives on the world's fastest train. Brad Pitt.
That's a guy who's like a
Brad
CEO
Pitt.
of something.
Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, Joey King, Zazie Beetz, Bad Bunny, Andrew Koji, Michael Shannon. That's feel like a kind of a spoiler, but
No, he's in the title.
He's listed.
Yeah.
That's
he's
true. That's
listed in
true.
the,
A couple cameos as well, which I won't say.
Yeah.
A couple funny cameos. This is a very audience to critic. Big difference right now. Audiences to critic. Critics do not like this movie. It has a very low approval percentage of Rotten Tomatoes. It's in the 50s, I believe. Audiences they're not head over heels for this movie, but they do like it. I enjoyed Bullet Train quite a bit. It has, I'll say what I compared it to. I said it's like somebody trained for a half marathon. They hit their half. They got through 13 miles. And they said, you know what? I can do a few more. And they did a few more, and the few more were just rough. Like they were puking a little bit. Things weren't great. They were passing out. This movie is, I think, awesome for a long while. And then it starts kind of like throwing up. And not like projectile vomiting all over itself, like Baby Yoda in the Razor Crest in Mandalorian, where it just kind of like dribbles out. You're like, man, you're just doing too much, Bullet Train. This is a little too much going on right now.
Do you remember the infamous meme picture of the guy shitting his pants during the marathon? Like maybe it's like that guy.
Yeah.
The guy with diarrhea.
I really enjoyed this movie like quite a bit, but it's just above average. It's close to good. I can't put it in like the good territory because I just think the end is just so muddied that it kind of gave me. I actually didn't really enjoy it. That's a problem, which sucks because I feel like the first 2/3 of it I really loved, and then it just kind of stumbled off. Jeremy Johns, the YouTuber, compared it. Now, granted, I was half paying attention, so I don't know if he was comparing it completely, but he kind of gave a Smokin' Aces comparison, and I actually sort of like that. Now, Smokin' Aces, I actually think this is like a well-made movie. Smokin' Aces,
it does.
I don't love,
Smokin' Aces,
but it's the same thing. Where I will say the ending of Smokin' Aces is I think awful.
Energy is the same though. That's right.
I gave it a 79. I did like a reset on a bunch of movies for 2022 movies. So this is actually a little higher up there than I think some people may think. Like I dropped a couple things down because I rewatched some things in the car this weekend. But I do throw this up there at a 79 out of 100, which is right along the lines of Downton Abbey, A New Era, and Turning Red for me in terms of 2022 movies. I think the end of this movie is, unfortunately, there's so much going on that they dump at you that it just is not, it's just not fun anymore at the end. And that's a bummer because the reason this was working is it was fun. And unfortunately, this went from like really good and solid to just very above average, close to good for me. That's my initial thoughts on Bullet Train. Ken Jack.
I think for me, the movie is just like frustrating because it is so, and this is like the first thing I reacted to it with, is that there's very clearly a good movie hidden inside it, but like you never get it like realized. It's almost like if you had like the world's most delicious like Ferrero Rocher, like ball of chocolate, and it's just covered in a thin layer of shit. And it's like, it's right there. It's pieces right there. Just get rid of the layer of shit. And I think with just like a few changes, this really could have been like the action comedy of the year and maybe like of the last like 5 years, but like they really screwed up, I think, in a few areas. And the biggest one, I think, is the casting. And it's not because of who they cast, it's because of what the roles that they put them into. Because I don't think you cast Brian Tyree Henry and Joey King into British accented roles when they can't do a British accent, especially next to people who are British. I thought that was a huge waste. And you don't cast someone like Zazie Beetz and give her 2 lines of dialogue.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, that was
bizarre. You don't have Michael Shannon have a physically demanding accented role. And I don't think you have one of the best martial artists in Hollywood in Andrew Koji and have him play a pathetic loser who can't fight. And you can apply that same logic to Karen Fukuhara from The Boys, and the same thing. She's playing like a fucking like a food person, an attendant on the train. That's crazy.
I thought for a second that was just somebody who looked like her because it was so like she's essentially an extra.
Careful, you're not.
Yeah, no, you're right. She is like an extra.
Shut up, dude.
It is. She is basically an extra in the movie, which is insane to me.
Hiroki Sanada also in this movie, by the way.
Hiroki Sanada was very good in this for like the limited time he had. He was like probably the star of the later half of it. In the later half of it, I think you cut 25 minutes off this.
I thought you were going to say that. I actually thought I didn't know you added the glasses too to your.
I was wearing these.
Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry and Chris, you can roll off into this. I don't know what you think. I thought you were going to say I thought they dominated too much of the like they were the best part of the movie.
So
I thought
that's the other part of it, and that I think the characters did work. Specifically, like Pitt was pretty good. Bad Bunny, limited screen time, crushed it.
Bad Bunny was good. I was kind of happy.
Really crushed it. The cameos, which we could talk more about later, I thought both of them were awesome. And Lemon and Tangerine, which is Brian Tyree Henry and Aaron Taylor Johnson, I thought they were really, really good. Definitely a little bit too much screen time, but the action, awesome. Hand-to-hand scenes and environmental fights were really cool. I think they could have done a better job, though, specifically with the train, of like showing how sort of like tight quarters it is. Because you watch something like, I forget which James Bond it was, where it was Daniel Craig versus Bautista in the train, but that was like a sick train fight.
Was
and
that
I expected
not Spectre?
I think it was Spectre, yeah, so it's probably the best part of Spectre, which is not the great. But that fight scene was sick. So it's, for me, just a super frustrating watch because it's like watching, like, I think I explained this to Smitty, I used this comparison to Smitty earlier today. So it's like watching like a kid, you like try to put like a square peg in a round hole. And it's like, it's entertaining to watch that for a little while, but it's like, it gets frustrating at a point because you're like, the answer's right in front of your face. Just do it. So like, there's like a few little changes that could have made this so good, but it's still like undeniably entertaining, which I think explains the gap between critic and audience score, because this is a movie that's meant to be entertaining. It definitely, I think, has the sheen of a COVID movie, which is fine. There's not a lot of shit you can do at that point in time when you're filming versus now. So other than that,
what would you give it?
I'd give it like, I think I'm at a 74.
Okay.
I'm at a 74 for Bullet Train, but yeah.
I actually, the first 2/3 of this movie, or 3/4, before the what's the character's name? I'm fucking it up. It's the elder. Hiroki Sanada's character comes in and does like the large exposition dump, and you learn everything. Like you just learn everything about his character and Michael Shannon's character, and you're like, what the fuck? I'd have had an 85 at that point. I loved it. I actually had no issue with anything up. And then it's just like, oh my God, this is so much stuff. This is like stuff. They're telling me things. Chris, thoughts?
I'll end up giving it, because my system is different, I'll end up giving it a lower rating, but I'm in agreement with a lot of what you guys are saying.
Yeah.
The one thing I would disagree with slightly is I actually didn't like the way the movie opened. And a big part of it was, for the first 20 minutes, the movie was just trying so goddamn hard to be cool.
Yes, I would agree with that completely. Yes.
And I also think, well, there is some humor that does actually work quite a bit. There's a fair amount of running gags. I'm like, this, again, just trying to be cute, trying to do these like cutesy little bits of hijinks. It reminded me for a minute of Thor: Love and Thunder, where it's like, all right, can you settle down for half a second? Like, I was not a fan.
The Fuji
and I
water
love
bit.
Brian Tyree Henry. The whole Thomas the Tank Engine running gag did nothing for me, and they beat that into the fucking ground. But
that's because you use a diesel, bruv.
Yeah, you're clearly a diesel.
Fine. Yes, I probably definitely am. But I really like the cast. Brad Pitt rules in this. I mean, like there's a reason Brad Pitt sustained it the way he has. Like he's like one of the most charismatic actors that has ever existed. Brian Tyree Henry is becoming one of those actors to me that every time I see him in a movie, I'm like, I know this guy's going to be good. The accent's not great. It's better than Joey King's, but his accent was, did fade in and out. One thing I found funny is like, man, I know it was a long time ago, but I just remember Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kick-Ass. this guy's built like a tank now. Like,
Oh, he's nuts.
he's watching this. I'm like, man, he is going to be really good as Kraven the Hunter. Like, he does look like a beast. I'm with you guys though in the sense that I was totally down. I'm like, man, this is like a 7 out of 10. We're almost approaching like 8 out of 10 territory here. But those last 10 minutes, I mean,
10.
people might not believe me when I say this. I'm actually really willing to suspend disbelief with a lot of movies. Like, when you break it down, the John Wick movies, Common and John Wick are having a fucking shootout in the middle of a subway station and nobody notices. Like, I'm willing to accept, hey, it's fiction, it's a movie. But when shit gets stupid at the end, the last 10 minutes.
Which I would compare Brian Tyree Henry and Brad Pitt fighting in the seat in the quiet car like that. Like, I was cool with that. Like, I know it's dumb, but like it works in the context of the jokes.
I was with you. It's when, well, I don't know if we're getting into spoilers, but
we can't. We'll get into spoilers now. Yeah.
Okay, it's when there is a massive fucking train accident that would have probably murdered an entire town, and yet all the main characters somehow survive it. I'm like, all right, now we're getting into ridiculousness territory. I will say though, I think the movie is aware of its stupidity. Like, I think it knows it's a live action cartoon, but even that can only be stretched so far. So, I 60 and above for me is a mild recommendation. I don't think there's really any reason to see it in theaters, but slight little thumbs up at like a 63.
I think that's super fair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do think that audiences for the most part will enjoy it. I was kind of worried about the runtime, and I think a movie called Bullet Train should maybe be a little bit tighter. The movie never really bored me, which I thought it might. So yeah, it's fine.
I was never bored of it, and then Gooch, you can go as well. I'll reiterate, it just, for me, it was so much fun. I liked it. Like, I actually didn't have, like, with you, Kenjack, I thought it was fitting and working great. It just, when you halt the not the tone, it wasn't even the tone. When you halt the pace,
I think it was too many storylines, and it was just one too many storylines, and that last storyline was just not that interesting.
Because you unraveled basically two big storylines at the end. It was one storyline, but it was like two exposition story dumps, and it kind of halted because you picked up a pace the whole way, and you had a steam, and it's honestly, it's funny, it's on a train. It literally had that momentum where it was going, and then it just kind of threw you off course a bit. You're like, this is too much stuff.
You could dump Sonata and just keep Andrew Koji as the guy trying to get revenge for his dad or whatever, and you just lose you lose 20 minutes of time right there. And I think, and you could have had Andrew Koji actually be able to demonstrate his insane worth as a martial artist and fight person. So I don't know. That's just very frustrating in retrospect.
I love Michael Shannon. He's a Kentucky guy, Lexington guy. He was miscast
big time.
Terrible.
Yeah, totally.
Big time.
He took me so far out of that movie. Towards the end, I agree with what you guys are saying. It's a very fun movie. I mean, it's like the textbook TNT, like catch it on a Sunday, watch it. Yeah. Like it's good. You can flip it on at any point. I don't think you'll be lost at all. You just have fun with it. I come in at a 75, and I agree with what most of what you guys said. The accents, I think I'm accent blind.
I am too. That's why I haven't commented on it, because I just don't get it.
I didn't notice it at all.
When Brian Tyree Henry yelled or got agitated, his accent disappeared. He just became American.
I thought it was going to bother me because I talked to Ken Jack before seeing it, and he said the accents were pretty bad.
Meanwhile, I actually Googled, I re-looked up if he was British. I swear to God, I was like, wait, he's not British, right? Yeah, I'll never actually look up if Joey King was British for a second.
I thought Joey King was British. I'm not even gonna lie.
She definitely is
a
not.
British face.
She had like 3 months of accent work for a British accent, and the British accent wasn't very good.
I thought her character was really cool up until the end, actually. She seemed like she was the one in control of the whole train. It was interesting. I actually liked the water bottle bit too.
That definitely drove Chris. Oh, you did. So I was gonna say, I thought that would be a gag you would have hated out of this.
No, that one. Because it was woven really well into the storyline.
Yeah, it was, the joke was set up well because they had done that same bit with like every single character, and then the fucking water bottle gets one. But then you get one more with Tanada. So yeah, 75 for me. Fun movie. I don't think it really tries to reinvent the wheel in any way. It's just like, here's a bunch of really talented, funny people, and we're just gonna have them do gags for 2 hours on a train. Probably should have been 90 minutes. Would have fixed a lot of things. Probably would have come in at like high 80s if they did that.
That's you kind of just nailed it. I feel like it's a lot of talented, funny, like really good actors coming together.
Yeah,
and I just think when you overcomplicate it at the end like that, that kind of defeats what you've put together.
Yeah. Should have just been like a little dumb fun movie. And it still kind of was, but just that extra bit at the end just really, really took me. I was checking my phone.
There's just
once I start checking my phone, see like how much time I'm like, holy shit.
There's just so many little ways they explain the the White Death character and like how it connects and everything. And I will say my favorite movie of all time, Ocean's 11. I'll always say when you want to do the idea of the twist of Ocean's 11 is complicated, but not. And throw Logan Lucky in there as well. Very similar thing. Just Ocean 7-11 as they call it. It is complicated, but it really isn't, because when they explain it, it is super easy to follow. Like you are unraveling a lot of shit at the end of the movie, and it doesn't miss a beat. It doesn't stop in its tracks to explain it to you. And now it's kind of a twist movie, I guess, in a sense. Not really, but like they are explaining like the backstory of why they're all there, right?
Yes.
When it becomes too much and it does halt your movie, that's where the problem is. That's why why I'll always credit like Soderbergh with like Ocean's 11 and Logan Lucky. They have, in a sense, mildly complicated like backstories that they're explaining to you, like, oh, this is really what Channing Tatum, this is really what Brad Pitt and George Clooney did. But they do it in such a snappy, quick way, and it's easy to follow, and it doesn't kind of halt the movie a little bit. And these just kind of halted the movie for me.
I think you got to embrace being an action comedy and just make it it has to be an hour and a half movie. It has to be an hour and a half movie, jokes, action, jokes, action, jokes, action. And like when you look at Atomic Blonde, like it's almost that minus all of the comedy. And like that's where like David Leitch, I'm going to pronounce it wrong.
It's got to be Leach.
I think it's Leach.
Leach?
I thought it was Leach.
Leitch?
Is it Leitch?
I like
Leitch or Leach?
I like Leitch.
We just said it in the interview with JJ Perry, by the way. So however he said it is how you say it.
Exactly. But I think when you look at him and he's like a more laser focused on the action, he's significantly better. I don't think his sort of like dialogue scenes worked as well. And I was actually talking to Justin Kroll about this, who's a buddy of ours over at Deadline. Like he said the same thing. He's like, you just can't have a guy like that heavily invested in dialogue versus action, because he's so talented at action and just okay at dialogue. And I think that kind of hurt a little bit. You could have just had it more almost like Deadpool-y, where it's like very quick and like tiny little bits of comedy versus it having to be a big dialogue moment.
Also, Kid Jake, you said you liked the cameos. Did you guys like the cameos?
I like Channing Tatum specifically a lot.
The Ryan Reynolds one was pretty dumb.
That one took me out of it for a second.
And I guess Sandra Bullock was technically a cameo, but like they spoiled it in the trailers. But I think she was written as a cameo.
I like the Channing Tatum one. I don't like cameos, with the exception of Brad Pitt in Deadpool 2, ironically. But I don't like cameos that are just, it's that guy. Like I thought, you know what I thought when they showed him? Like they gave him a big introduction. I thought that he was going to come back around and be like
so did I.
Yeah. Movie.
So did I.
Oh, that's dope. The fact that they just showed his face, I'm like, okay, well that's just all it is that's Ryan Reynolds returning the favor for Brad Pitt being in Deadpool 2. That's all it was. Yeah.
I did.
You mean
Tatum Rock?
No, you mean Lost City of D.
Yeah.
I think that's how that happened.
Channing Tatum, the Channing Tatum one, I did chuckle at when he
the sex stuff. He's like, "Is this a sex thing?"
Yeah, or when he
Are we doing the sex stuff now?
His comedic chops are so
when they were
good.
buying the food or whatever, when they were buying off the cart.
Yeah.
When Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brad Pitt were buying food off like the drink cart or whatever, and he's like, "I don't have any. Can you pay for it? I don't have any money."
That was
I gave it to the guy to wear my hat and glasses. I thought that was a nice little callback. It was, again, that's a tough thing for me. I didn't fully read the reviews. I just knew what the Rotten Tomatoes score was, which I've been trying to do more and more lately. And as I'm watching it, I just knew what the score is, and I'm like, what's about to happen? Something bad's about to happen. Why don't people? Because I really enjoyed it. I'm like, man, why don't critics like this movie? And then it just became very like hefty.
Yes.
Like just stuff. It's like they just barf stuff at you at the end.
Small adjustments to this movie, man. It could have been one of the best of the last few years as far as, again, just action comedy goes.
But for me, now it stands 1 point behind.
I want to see Aaron Taylor Johnson
Downton
more stuff
Abbey.
now. I think he kind of stole the
rocks.
show.
You should, if you've ever seen Outlaw King, this dude can fucking act. He is really good. I remember when we talked about who we'd want to play Wolverine, I said him number one, because him in Outlaw King is insane.
I mean, he's clearly a little big for the role. I don't know.
I mean,
Hugh Jackman is that big too.
Yeah,
he
but
was good in another
range.
Michael Shannon movie. Nocturnal Animals.
Oh yeah,
he won a Globe, a shocking Globe. Remember we talked about that? It was a Globe that he didn't even get nominated for, I think, the Oscars.
I thought you were going to say Tenet for a second. I was like, I don't remember Michael Shannon in Tenet. I always forget that Taylor Johnson's in it.
I grew fonder of Nocturnal Animals as time went on.
Good movie.
I'm also super biased about anything with Jake Gyllenhaal, so that could also be the case.
Do you remember that guy? And I don't know if we got a chance to talk about this. The guy who described Derek Carr as Jake Gyllenhaal. Did you see that tweet?
Yes.
Yes.
What a fucking moron.
Bad
What a
comparison.
moron. He's like, yeah, he's got that everyman quality.
Yeah.
Who the fuck considers Jake Gyllenhaal an everyman actor? Are you the biggest moron on earth?
Not an everyman
Outrageously
actor, yeah.
disrespectful to Jake Gyllenhaal. Oh, I hated that guy so much.
So that is Bullet Train. Ranging, it lands in the low to mid 70s for us as a group. Which I'm gonna be honest, that's disappointing because when the Bullet Train trailer came out, I was like, this could be fucking.
It
amazing.
was one of you or Chris's most anticipated of the year. I remember I went back
The
and
first
looked at
trailer
those.
was great.
Like,
Yeah.
fuck, I forget who's it on. Like, my anticipated the list, by the way. I had like Top Gun, Maverick, and I think a Banshees.
You
of
had
Inisherin on
Banshees
it.
of Inisherin on.
Yeah, I definitely have it on mine, but I think one of you had Bullet Train pretty high.
I think it was Jeff, but yeah,
I might have.
Was that the anticipated movies? That was the draft we did, right?
Yeah, we did
I
a draft.
I might
I don't
have, yeah.
Let's see. You had Chris, Avatar 2 pending, Wakanda Forever pending, and Bullet Train, which
Oh, yeah.
okay, and then The Northman, and then Elvis. So I think things kind of panned out for you.
Fuck yeah, Elvis.
You had Thor: Love and Thunder second overall, Jeff. Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, Creed 3, Don't Worry Darling, and Super Mario with Chris Pratt.
Don't Worry Darling, which apparently isn't being promoted by Florence Pugh because she was upset with the
I don't
affair that
believe
Olivia
it.
Wilde had on
Cheating
set
on
with
set.
Harry Styles.
I had
I
Babylon.
That's a wild rumor.
I also picked Elvis like as a joke because I thought it was gonna suck. So I can't really count that one.
Yeah, I think all of our last ones were
I-
kind of. You had
I
Minions,
did-
Robbie.
On Peacock, I did
No,
watch.
that's, Robbie Fox.
Oh, it was Robbie Fox. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I did watch the second worst movie I've seen this year on Peacock this weekend.
God, I wanna think
They Them.
They
Oh.
no. They slashed them.
They slashed
They
them.
slashed them. Yeah.
It's a slasher.
4 out of 100.
That bad?
It's
Kevin Bacon banger,
It's
right?
unbelievably bad.
Interesting.
Like unreal.
If you're looking for a slasher to go watch, I don't know if we're gonna review it on the pod. Bodies.
Yeah.
it goes wide this week. I was.
It was really, really.
It wasn't
good.
playing where I was this weekend. I really want to see it.
It was so funny.
Everyone says it's great.
So
Ugh.
funny. It's one of the funnier movies I've seen like last couple of years. Like it's a good movie.
Can't wait.
They them, man.
They slashed them.
They slashed them. Second worst year ahead of
I mean,
just.
that's like one of those things where they like somebody thought of the title
And
and
they
they're
had
like,
to
what
make
if
a
we
movie.
made a slasher called
Yeah.
They Slashed Them, and then they just like that was they did nothing else.
Average score of movies this year for me is a 58.
Damn,
Right
why
now.
you give every movie a 90? Why is every movie a 90 plus?
Some guy on Twitter got so mad at me and Ken. Like, everything's good. He's like, yeah, I want to see
You
the
only-
bad ones. Yours a 57. There you go.
Yeah. See,
Average, yeah.
I had Babylon, by the
We
way.
actually did, though, the day after we did release a movie you did post a movie that had like a score
You
in the
had
70s.
You had Master of Disguise.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That too,
I posted Master of
With
Disguise
literal
zero.
zero.
We posted the Master of Disguise, and if you don't follow us on Twitter, because I know some people don't on Twitter, we do a moving graphic. So it starts at a
The
0
counter goes up.
and it counts up to 100. And somebody replied, Master, we both had it at 0. Somebody replied like, I was just staring at this, waiting for the number to go up, and it never went up.
Never moved.
Hard
It deserves a 5. I laughed when I was a kid.
A 5 just for reading the trivia about 9/11 with it.
Yeah.
I was
and
just gonna
that
say
too.
that's
Yeah.
5 for the moment of silence.
Yep. The moment of silence in the
set.
turtle suit. Oh my God, Dana Carvey, what were you doing?
Am I not turtly enough?
Yeah, we're
the Turtle Club?
You're not a member of the Turtle Club. That was a funny tweet. I saw responding to that.
Prey is the next movie we're going to talk about.